All right, you guys asked for it, and now you're gonna get it. N64 collection video time. What is up, everybody? Welcome to my first collection video of 2016, and as you can see right there, it's the Nintendo 64. I love this little guy. The Nintendo 64, the Ultra 64, the baddest console on the planet. Okay, maybe that's a stretch, but I love the N64. I know I've said this plenty of times on my channel. The Nintendo 64 holds sort of a special place in my heart, a special spot in the old nostalgia, area in my brain. This was the first console that my wife bought for me back in 1997. She was my girlfriend at the time we were in high school. And I'm still on the lookout for the box and styrofoam for the Atomic Purple set that came with the Atomic Purple controller set that came with the extra controller, So definitely on the lookout for that so I can have one of these bad boys boxed. Now I say that the N64 is a badass console, and it is. This is kind of where those 2D games that we all love jumped into the 3D realm. Some of them didn't turn out so good. Some of them turned out really, really good. But, the N64, you can't complain, really. We got a Mega Man game, we got Castlevania game, we got Zelda games, we got Mario games, we got F-Zero, we got a Kirby game. All those games that, we played on 8-bit and 16-bit translated really well, I think, for the most part, onto the Nintendo 64. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. This is one of my larger collections that I have. I'm actually going for a complete N64 set. Not quite sure how many games I have. I kind of lost count. But I'm just kind of collecting casual, like we'll pick them up when we find them or we can get a good deal on them. So, all right, you know what we do in these videos? We talk about the hardware first before we get to the games. So let's get to the hardware. All right, when you talk about the N64 and you talk about, additional hardware, this is like the first thing that we have to talk about, right? All these controller packs or memory cards. We'll just call them memory cards because that's kind of the preferred nomenclature. So, yeah, they come in all different sizes and different manufacturers, third parties, first parties, little short memory packs, all that stuff. And one of my favorite accessories, the N64 really kind of revolutionized some of these things. Was the first console to bring some of these things to, to the forefront. So like the Rumble Pack, which came with Star Fox, you just jam this up in the bottom of the controller and it gives you like that force feedback. Nowadays, that's common, and they build that feature into the controllers. Nintendo 64 was the first console to really do that on a mainstream level. I am missing a transfer pack. I think I have one. I can't find it. But you could put your Pokemon games in there and use it with like Pokemon Stadium. Also, Game Sharks, man. These came in a ton of different versions, and were pretty awesome. You just plug it in, and then you could like basically make little stacks of Game Sharks and games and whatever. So, yeah, Game Sharks came out for the N64. You gotta kind of watch what you buy on those because sometimes they lock up. Now, if you collect N64 or you've seen N64 stuff about, which I can't imagine, that you haven't, we got to talk about this bad boy right here, the Nintendo 64 controller. Really the first controller to have this beautiful analog stick that was awesome for the time, but really kind of wore out. First time we had the, this three-prong design with the, the C buttons. We got our A and B button, start button. We have our Z button underneath, which, a trigger button. But, yeah, you say what you will about the controller. I actually don't have a problem playing. I just turn it to the side, and kind of play it that way. And if I need the D-pad, then we kind of work through that. But you got to remember, for the time, this thing was like the awesome controller, man. This thing was sweet. So, yeah, so you got your standard N64 controller. And, of course, it wouldn't be Nintendo if they didn't make those things in a shit ton of colors. So we got a black one, a green one, a red one. I have a blue one complete in the box, which is awesome because you never find, at least I do, I never find N64 stuff. We have our very awesome atomic purple controller, which is sweet. And then we have one of my favorite controllers to use. I've almost worn out the stick on it completely, but the extreme green controller. Now I was looking on eBay and I saw somewhere extreme green, somewhere lime green. I asked Glenn Plant, who also does YouTube videos. He does basically all N64 stuff, and he knows about N64. And I asked him, I said, how can you tell the difference between an extreme green and a lime green? And he says, dude, there is no difference. Somehow this rumor got started that they were lime green. If it's an official Nintendo product and it's this extreme green color, it's an extreme green controller. So, you know, using that philosophy, you may be able to get a good deal on this particular color on eBay because people may not know that it's an extreme green and not necessarily a lime green. All right. Additionally, there was a ton of third-party controllers, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is kind of one that is standard in a lot of people's collection. The Super Pad 64. Basically, it's a regular N64 controller. It's a little bit thicker, and as you can tell, it's missing the prongs on the side. I do like using this for Mario Kart because the joystick is indented. It's not like pushed up, it's indented. So you can really get your thumb in there when you got to push hard left or hard right to get around those corners. So yeah, definitely look at adding one of those to your collection. All right, now the last thing I want to show you real quick before we get into the games. Nintendo made a ton of different consoles for the N64 as well, right? So they made like all the fantastic colors. They made like a Star Wars, a limited edition gold set. And I don't have any of those. I never find them in the wild. And when I find them at retail stores, obviously they're going to be overpriced because you just don't see them. But one console that I did pick up, I got this for $12 at a thrift store. Super excited to have it. It is the Nintendo 64 Pikachu edition, which is awesome. With the controller. So happy to find that with the controller. This thing is pretty cool because it's wider than an N64. And then when you turn the power button on, Pikachu's little red cheeks right there, they light up. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right. Let's get to the games, man. Let's do it. All right, guys. Here we go. You watch any of my collection videos, you kind of know how these things go. We're going to show off all of kind of the sports games real quick. I'll put a time right down here. So you guys, if you want to skip all the sports games, you can do that. Glare. But we're going to try and fly through these as fast as possible. My favorite sport as a kid was baseball. So we'll start with baseball. Got Ken Griffey Jr. games, Triple Play Baseball, and then we got a host of All-Star Baseball 99, 2000, and 2001. All right. And we got a ton of football too, man. I love football. We got Madden 64, and then we got a ton of Maddens to go with that. NFL quarterback clubs. Got a bunch of those. All have Brett Favre on it. And one of my favorite football series of all time, man. I still play these games. NFL Blitz. Love NFL Blitz. Love playing it in the arcade. All right. Soccer games. First one here, Mia Hamm Soccer. Now, the graphics on this are absolutely horrible, but it's actually a pretty fun soccer game to play, and it's still relatively cheap. And we got International Superstar Soccer, and then, of course, we've got a ton of FIFA games here. We got 3 FIFA games, 99, 98, and World Cup 98. Golf games, Cyber Tiger. I do love golf. We got Wale Country Club. Got NHL games. We got NHL Breakaway, NHL 99, Breakaway 98, and Wayne Gretzky Hockey. Okay. Got some NASCAR games here. We got NASCAR 99, NASCAR 2000, and then we got a couple boxing games. Knockout Kings and Ready to Rumble Boxing. I always like to play basketball, like, you know, play street ball or whatever. was never really good at it, but we got some NBA Showtime action right there. We got NBA In the Zone, NBA Courtside, In the Zone 2000, Fox College Sports, starting to pile it up, and then another NBA Hang Time and another NBA In the Zone. So let's get those on the shelf. All right, so let's just keep going. Bass Hunter 64, All-Star Tennis 98, Nagano Winter Olympics 98. I actually don't even think I've played that one. And then we got some snowboarding games here. 1080 Snowboarding and Twisted Edge. Now, the N64 did have a lot of wrestling games on there. My favorite one is WCW NWO World Tour. The rest of them are okay, I guess, but I love the World Tour because that's one I remember playing as a kid. We got No Mercy, WCW NWO Revenge, ECW Hardcore, WWF Attitude, WCW Monday Nitro. And here it is, WCW NWO World Tour, WCW Mayhem, WCW Backstage Assault, WWF Warzone, and the last one here is WrestleMania 2000. I do have 2 complete in-box N64 games. They are both sports games, but I think they're kind of cool. We got complete in-box NFL Quarterback Club 99, which we used to play the hell out of when we were kids, so definitely excited to have that complete in the box. And then Madden 2001, which you guys would think is no big deal, but I live in Columbus, Ohio. Eddie George was a Buckeye Heisman Trophy winning running back, so definitely awesome to have that just for kind of, you know, old time's sake, I guess. All right, let's get into our next stack of games. Okay, another genre that the N64 is kind of known for is the racing games. So let's fly through the racing games, shall we? We got Top Gear Overdrive, Top Gear Hyperbike. This is actually not a bad game, and it's really cheap. So if you see that cheap, pick that one up. World Driver Championship, MRC, Revolt. Actually, this is a pretty cool game too. It's like you're racing radio controlled cars, which is kind of cool. We got Roadsters, Micro Machine 64 Turbo. Actually, I like the one on the NES a little bit better. Indy Racing 2000, Rush 2, Beetle Adventure Racing. This game is on a lot of people's N64 hidden gems, so I don't know if you want to check that out. Don't buy this game. Aero Gauge, it's pretty terrible. San Francisco Rush, Monaco Grand Prix, F1 Pole Position 64, Hot Wheels, Wipeout 64. I actually didn't like this game the first couple times I played it, but it's starting to grow on me, so yeah, not bad with the Wipeout. Ridge Racer 64, Automobili Lamborghini, F1 World Grand Prix, and the last one here is Extreme G Racing. I thought there was an Extreme G2. I don't know. Maybe it's in another stack somewhere. So, all right, let's get these games on the shelf. All right, guys. You can see there's a shit ton of sports games and racing games on the N64. Let's just go ahead and get into the bulk of the collection here. All the other games, right? So here we go. We've got Tony Hawk Pro Skater, Xena Warrior Princess, not a bad fighting game, War Gods, Rugrats, Toy Story 2, Milo's Astro Lanes, not a bad bowling game actually. Got Body Harvest, Excite Bike 64, still has the thrift store sticker on there. Bought that for $3, for $4. Yeah. Hexen, Mission Impossible, Gex 3, and Army Men, Sarge's Heroes. We played this. I think this is actually my childhood copy. But yeah, we played the hell out of that. My brother loved that game. All right, we got Vigilante 8. Armorines. Nuclear Strike 64. That one's got a sticker on there I couldn't get off, man. That thing is fierce. Golden Nugget. Not a bad casino game considering it's, you know, from that generation. 007, The World Is Not Enough. Mace, The Dark Age. Very awesome game right here. Winback. Takes a little getting used to the controls on that one, but pretty awesome. Got Aero Fighters Assault. Power Rangers Rescue. This is kind of cool right here. We got Army Men, Sarge's Heroes in the green cartridge and the gray cartridge. So, yeah, anytime you can find variants like that, that's cool to pick up. Dark Rift. Another interesting kind of fighting game. Quake. Turok 2. A Bug's Life. Tetrasphere. Space Invaders. Pretty interesting game here. Deadly Arts. Konami title. Fighter's Destiny. Gex 64. And Forsaken 64. So you can see right here, we're starting to stack them up. Rareware game. Blast Core. Definitely cool. Add that one to your collection if you can find it on the cheap. Alright guys, that's going to do it for that part. The next part, these are going to be, you know, probably what you guys came for. The Mario, Zeldas, all that stuff. So, here we go. Woo! Filling up the shelf. I love it. Alright, let's move on. These next set of games, I kind of still play these a little bit. So, I have them kind of in a drawer. You guys saw it there at the beginning. Underrated game right here. Miss Pac-Man, Maze Madness, I think. Yeah, Maze Madness. Kind of a isometric, but it's actually kind of fun. So definitely check that out. I think that game's still cheap as well. Midway, you guys know I love my collection type videos. Midway's Arcade Hits. Namco Museum. I actually like this one. Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey. Here we go. Make fun of me. Wheel of Fortune. Actually not a bad game. I grew up on Wheel of Fortune, so I love that show. Brunswick Championship Circuit Pro Bowling guy. It's actually a little bit better, I think, than the Milo's Astro Lane. So, and that's a cheap game too. It's like $3 or $4. Yeah. All right. So we got Rayman 2, The Great Escape, Pilot Wing 64. One of my favorite games as a kid. My wife actually bought me this game as well, so I'm looking for a complete in-box copy of Star Fox 64. Very awesome game. NFL Blitz 2001. My son and I tried to play that, I don't know, a couple months ago, and it was a disaster trying to play that two-player. Cruisin' USA. Here's Extreme G2. I knew I had that one somewhere, so there's Extreme G2. South Park Rally. Cruisin' Exotica. Cruisin' World. I remember playing the cruising games like in the arcade, you know, and I always loved like the sit-down cabinets where, you know, it's kind of like a race car in there. It's kind of cool. We got Scars, and then we got GT64. Quake 2. Nightmare Creatures. Pretty cool game. I don't know if I like the PlayStation version better, but definitely awesome. This is an awesome game. Got to get this one. Mischief Makers. I think it was developed or published by Treasure. Quest 64. Glover. Duke Nukem 0 Hour. Lego Racers. Asteroid 64. Fighter's Destiny 2. Alright. Shadow Man, one of the very few M-rated games for the console. We got Spider-Man, Gauntlet Legends, awesome game. Buck Bumble, the new Tetris. I don't know, man. I like classic Tetris. I didn't think, old Tetris was that bad, but new Tetris. Rocket Robot on Wheels. Clay Fighters, 63 1/3. Still missing the old Sculptor's Cut. Very awesome game right here. Underrated. Not a lot of people know about it. You'll probably recognize it if you play a lot of NES and you play a lot of shoot 'em ups on the NES. Star Soldier, Vanishing Earth. Very awesome game. Definitely check that out. All right, here we go. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. You guys have heard me talk about that probably 10 times in pickup videos. Some Star Wars games. Love Star Wars. We got Rogue Squadron. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Shadows of the Empire. Mortal Kombat 4. Mortal Kombat Trilogy. One of my favorite arcade games of all time. Gotta have it on the N64. Hydro Thunder. I will say this. If you are going to get a version of Hydro Thunder, get the PlayStation version. Just the CD quality sound makes the game a whole lot better. So, all right, let's get these on the shelf. All right, here we go. Back at it. I do want to mention, before we get started in the second set here, I do have a copy of Wave Race 64. Now, this is a universal game case. I've got the manual in there. Trying to let it fall out. But these were interesting because I found these boxes. These were the N64 boxes that somebody had brought into buybacks, and they were all ripped up, and people had, whoever had it, like, cut them like this. And they basically just threw the boxes, the cardboard boxes that were all cut up, in like a 25-cent bin. So I picked this one up, and then the only other one that was really serviceable was Diddy Kong Racing. So yeah, I got the cartridge and the manual for that one. Let's see if I can show you exactly what's going on here. All right. So as you can see, this is the cardboard stock from the N64 box. But whoever had this before cut the tabs off and cut the side off. So yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but all right. I don't know. So, speaking of Rareware, Rareware was one of the most dominant publishers on the Nintendo 64. They made a ton of great games. Diddy Kong Racing was one of those games, and a lot of their games covered a ton of different genres too. So, we talked about Blast Corps, as a Rareware game that you should get. Diddy Kong Racing is a must. They developed Killer Instinct Gold. So there's a fighting game. Another racing game here, Mickey USA Speedway. Awesome platformer, Banjo-Kazooie. One of the greatest games of all time. One of the greatest games of that generation. GoldenEye 007. Really, that first-person shooter. They back that right up with Perfect Dark, which I think is an awesome game. Jet Force Gemini. And the last one here, Donkey Kong 64. Now, I didn't talk about this in the hardware review, but the N64 has an expansion pack that took it from 4 megabytes to 8 megabytes. You have to have that expansion pack to play Donkey Kong 64. So, all right. Another kind of genre, not really genre, but another franchise that the Nintendo 64 really kind of threw out there. They were backing it up off of the Game Boy. Pokemon was so successful. It's still successful. People love it. And likewise, there were N64 Pokemon games. So first one is Hey You Pikachu. This one actually came with a microphone that I've got buried somewhere. I can't find it, but I do have one. This is probably my favorite Pokemon game. I don't even play Pokemon, but I'll play this one all day. Pokemon Snap. It's an on-rail shooter where you can throw like apples and try and get Pokemon to do different things so you can take pictures. Another awesome Pokemon game. Pokemon Puzzle League. It's like Tetris, kind of one of those kind of games. And then the two kind of heavy hitters for the N64, Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2. So definitely happy to have those. I think I got this for like, God, I want to say $10 or something off of a offer-up deal or a Craigslist deal. So happy to have that. All right. So let's move into sort of the mainstream franchises that people followed from Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64. Unfortunately, there wasn't a Metroid game, but the N64 really carried a lot of games from previous generations. So Castlevania, there's also a second Castlevania. I don't have that one. Bomberman. Everybody Loves Kirby. F-Zero. Yoshi's Story, Mega Man 64, and of course you gotta have a Nintendo console, you gotta have Zelda. So Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And then kind of new to the N64, to that generation, but still an awesome survival horror game, Resident Evil. So definitely excited to have those. Alright guys, let's wrap this up. You know where we're going. Super Mario time. Mario 64. My favorite Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 64. Super Smash Bros. I'm terrible at Super Smash Bros. Games. Mario Party. Mario Party 2. Mario Tennis. Mario Golf. And that's all for the Mario games. I do have 2 more games that I want to show you. I don't know, these are my rarer games or more expensive games. I would actually have to look. The first one is a Natsume game. Very cool. Harvest Moon 64. Definitely excited to add that. I think I added that to my collection CorgsCon 2 years ago, and I might have got it for 40 bucks, but I did like a trade. So I ended up getting it maybe for like 30 bucks and some trades. So definitely excited to have Harvest Moon 64. And this game made it onto my top 5 games of 2015. That video is either down below or up above in the odds and ends section. Check that out. Love this game. Another Rareware title. Just picked it up for the original Xbox. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Love Conkers. Alright guys, that is going to do it. That is my N64 collection. 179 games in total. So I think there's 296 North American games. So we're getting close to 100 games left. We still have a lot of heavy hitters to go, but eventually we'll get there. Guys, what's your favorite N64 game? Post a comment down below. We'll see you next time.